Hey guys, I wanted to give you a bit of an update on what's been happening with the bus because it's been a while since I posted my last video. In that last video, I'd just received a report from my mechanic telling me that the bus is in pretty good mechanical condition for its age, and so I decided that it was worth going ahead, spending the extra money and time to fix the rust in the frame and do the repairs to the body. But you know, I really didn't want to have to do that myself because welding is not something I know how to do, and yes, I know I can learn, but I'm just not confident that I have the skills required to do the job properly. And I want to make sure that, you know, if I'm going to do this and spend the money to fix it, I only want to do it once, and I want to do a really good job to begin with. So for the last few weeks since that last video, I've been making inquiries and getting some quotes for that work. So I contacted a few places around Brisbane, some that were recommended to me, some that I just found on Google search, and I got a range of quotes, most of which were way out of my budget. I got quotes, you know, between $20,000 to $50,000 to do the work. The guy that quoted me $50,000, I'm sort of thinking maybe he just didn't want the job. But anyway, you know, so I was able to rule out a few places quite quickly. I managed to find a place it's actually in New South Wales, in Nambucca Heads, called Coach Care. So it's a professional bus and coach repair company. And the fellow that runs it is actually a member of one of the bus groups that I'm in on Facebook. And, you know, from what I've read of his comments and posts in that group, he seems like, you know, a reasonable, honest guy who knows what he's talking about, and has a lot of experience fixing up buses. So I contacted him. He's pretty confident that he can fix the rust in the frame and resheet the sides of the bus for me within my budget. Obviously, he hasn't seen the bus in real life and, you know, can only give me an estimate based on the photos and the information that I've sent him. So I'm actually going to be taking the bus down to Coach Care in Nambucca Heads, and so he can have a good look at it and give me an accurate quote as to what it's going to cost him to do the job. And fingers crossed, if it is about what he's estimated and it's within my budget, then I'll get him to go ahead and do the work. So that's happening in September because that was the earliest he could fit me in. So I've got about 6 weeks before that happens. And there's a few things I need to do before then. So the first thing, the most important thing I need to do is get a set of new tires for the bus, because the tires that are on it are all old. They're not in very good condition, and you know, I really don't want to be driving anywhere really, but certainly long distances, certainly not 6 hours drive to Nambucca Heads with the tires that I've got. So I was going to wait until I finished the conversion and was ready to hit the road full time before I replaced the tires, but I think given that I'm going to have to be doing a bit of driving in the next couple of months, I've decided to go ahead and replace them all now. So that will be a fairly big expense, but hopefully once I've got the new tires on, then that should last for, you know, quite a few years. That's the first job. The other thing that I need to do before it goes down is that I need to finalize my layout design, because obviously all the original bus windows are coming out, so he can get to the frame and fix them, and I don't see any point putting them back in because they're not very good windows. I mean, most of them, you know, this almost the full height don't open. The little sliders that open at the top are pretty crappy, so I figured I may as well just take them all out and replace them with, you know, custom RV style windows that have more opening for better ventilation, and also because I can then locate the windows exactly where I want them. So even though the windows may not be going back in for a while, I need to know, you know, how many windows are going in and what size and where they're going, because there may need to be some adjustments to the frame when these original bus windows come out, to just provide a bit of extra support that in the gaps that'll be left behind. So even though, you know, the repairer down south may not be putting the windows back in himself, I think he'll have to have a sense of which sections of the frame won't have a window, because then they may need extra supports. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I want to know myself exactly what the plan is and where the windows are going, so that I've got that information when I go down and he sees the bus and I speak to him. So in order to know where the windows are going to end up, I need to know exactly what the final design of the layout inside is going to be. So for the last few days, that's what I've been working on. And once again, I've done like a mock setup with random bits of furniture and stuff that I have at home, because I can, work out on a piece of paper or on my computer program where things will fit. But in order to get a sense of what it's actually going to feel like to live in the space, I need to be able to do that in 3D. So I've created a mock setup that's as close as I can get to the real thing with using what I've got on hand. And I've basically been sitting with it for the last couple of days to get a sense of how it feels, and I really like it. It's very similar to the original layout that I had designed, and I'll put a link to one of my previous videos where I actually showed you what I was originally thinking of doing with the inside. It's very similar to that, but there were a few things with that design that I just weren't happy about. The biggest one was I wasn't convinced I had enough space in the studio area at the back. I've got a lot of materials and a lot of tools that I need to fit in that studio, and it really just felt too small, and I was really worried that I wasn't going to have enough space to store all the things I needed to bring in onto the bus. So that was the first thing. I wanted to try and get a bit more space in the studio if possible. And the other thing that I didn't really like about that original design was there was no permanent dining table set up. I'd sort of had the idea that I wanted to have like a little open plan living area with a bit of space in front of the bed to do my yoga and stuff. And so I thought I could just have, some sort of folding table design that folded out from the wall when I wanted to use it, and then was able to be folded back out of the way, so I had that open space. And that's kind of a good idea in theory, but I just know from previous experience when I've hired camper vans and things in the past that having to change furniture, to convert it to a bed or set up a table that then has to be put away each day, that gets really old really fast. So, I use my dining table a lot at home if I'm eating or working on the computer. So I wanted to have that permanently set up and not be something that I have to fold away and then, take the stuff off it to put away every day. So that was those two things really were the main things that I just weren't happy about with that original design. So I've tweaked things a little bit. The biggest change is in the bathroom, and there's also been some changes to the kitchen, and those things have allowed me to actually gain about an extra 1/2 meter of space in the studio, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that amount of extra bench space, extra storage above and below that really makes a huge difference. So I walk into that space now and it feels like it's actually possible to fit all my stuff in there and be comfortable. So, and I've also managed to tweak things so I do have room for a permanent dining table setup. And I think the kitchen area in this layout works a little bit better too. So just inside the entry here at the top of the stairs, I'm going to have a little cupboard that'll be about 900 mil high perhaps, and it'll open out this way, and I'll have that as storage for shoes and, an umbrella and just the sort of things that you need to have just inside the door. So that'll be there. And then just inside the main living area here, I'm going to have my sofa bed. So this will actually be the bed that I sleep on, but during the day it'll act as a sofa as well. So this is a standard size single bed mattress, so I'll have that as the base, and then I'll probably get a custom cushion cut for the back of the sofa. And then the idea will be that this bed will pull out and that extra little cushion will pop down, and so you'll end up with almost a double size. And then on the other side here, as you walk in, just behind the driver's seat, I'm going to have a wardrobe here for my hanging space, and then next to that I'll have some sort of like chest of drawers storage, so that'll be for clothes and maybe some camera gear and whatever else I need. So that'll be wardrobe and chest of drawers there. opposite where the sofa bed is. And then a bit further back here, this is where the passenger seats will go. So I've actually moved them a little further back in the bus than what the original design had, but this is where they're going. And so I've got space here to have a permanent dining table set up, and that'll be designed so that if it needs to be removed, if I'm, you know, moving passengers in the bus, then I'll be able to take that off. But mostly it'll be permanently set up there. And where it is, it means that you know, if I need to, I can sit another 2 people on this side on the end of the bed. So I would actually be able to get 4, maybe even 5 people around this if I had to. So I'm really liking the fact that I've got a permanent table set up in this design, and also where it is, it sort of fits in better with the window. So there'll be I'll put a nice big window back in there, almost the same size as the bus window. So there'll be a nice view looking out from when you're sitting at the table. And then on the other side of that is the kitchen. So all of this is kitchen bench. And so I'll have my stove at this end and sink at this end, and then there'll be open bench space in the middle for working. And because of where it's located, I can actually use the table here as extra bench space when I'm preparing meals and stuff. So it actually works really well, this space now. And on the other side of the kitchen, behind the passenger seats, I'll have a full height pantry cupboard. And next to that will be my fridge. So they'll be going there, and there's plenty of room here in the kitchen to open that fridge door. And then coming back here, I haven't got all the walls up because I didn't have enough curtains and things to hang. But on this side here, this wall here, there'll be another wall the same as that on the other side of the fridge there, and there'll be a doorway going through. So the other plan that I had originally was the bathroom was all going to be on this side. So I was going to have shower and toilet with a sink in the middle. And then on the other side of that was the fridge and the pantry storage. But I've actually changed that around a bit. I'm going to now have the shower on one side and the toilet on the other, because it creates so much extra space in the bus around that when I do it that way. So this is the actual internal size that my shower will be. So it'll be quite big. And this thing here, this cardboard cutout, is actually the size of the wall basin that I'm probably going to fit in the shower. So I can stand in there and have plenty of room around that sink for a shower. So I'm happy that that will work. And on the other side of the bathroom here, again, this will be walled off the same, and my composting toilet will go in there on that side. And I'll have some sort of doors that will close off this area when you're using the bathroom. So now behind that, at the back of the bus, once again, I've got my studio, and I've just gained, an extra 1/2 metre of space here compared to what I had before. And that's really enough to just open up the whole space a bit more, and it's going to create a lot more extra storage here, which is important for me. So again, this whole space will be a big U shape of workbenches all the way around. I'm going to have my sewing table on this side, and I'll have a window where that one is, but a little bit smaller, with a nice view looking out there. And then the rest of this all will be built in. I was originally thinking of keeping a window in this spot as well, so you could get airflow and a bit more natural light, but I really need shelf space to store things. So I'm actually decided I'm just going to build this whole wall in with shelving, so I've got plenty of storage, and all the way around the back will be built in as well, and there'll be a big window here for airflow. And the other benefit to this space is that it's directly under one of the roof hatches, so I'll be putting in a proper ventilating fan up there, so I think there'll be plenty of ventilation in the studio. And I'm just really happy that I've managed to get a bit more space back here, which will be much needed. I'm really happy with this design. I've sort of been sitting with it for the last couple of days while it's been set up in the bus, and it just feels like the space works, and it's actually starting to feel a bit homey. So I'm confident that this is the right design, and this is the one I'm probably going to go with. So now I can go ahead and work out what size windows I need and where they're going, so that when the bus goes down south for repair, if the repairer needs to know that information, then I'll be able to give it to him.